She texted me, "Good night," at 9:03 p.m. That tiny red heart sat on my screen like a trap I didn't know I'd already stepped in. I remember staring at it longer than usual, my thumb hovering over the screen, not ready to type back. Something about it felt off. Not the message itself. Not even the emoji. Just the timing. We hadn't argued. We hadn't been distant. But there was this undertone lately, like a scent you can't place but can't forget either. A shift. Something unsaid. So, when I read that text, I didn't respond right away. I just looked at it and thought, that's not the kind of good night you send when you're alone. I remember the quiet in my apartment that night. The hum of the fridge. The muted sound of someone's TV through the thin wall. The way her message blinked at me in the dark like it knew more than I did. By 9:12, I had this knot in my stomach. The kind of feeling you usually get when you're about to get bad news. Only I hadn't gotten it yet. So I did something I hadn't done in the 3 years we'd been together. I didn't trust her. She'd said she was staying in for the night. Tired from work. Wine, face mask, early sleep, she'd said around 6:30. Girl stuff. I believed her. I even picked up a bottle of wine on the way home, thinking I'd surprise her this weekend. She loved the one with the blue label. Still does, probably. But that feeling wouldn't leave. At 9:26, I called Jake. He was always out, always knew where things were happening. He picked up on the second ring. Yo, you out tonight? Yeah, 10th Street. That new rooftop spot, Opal Room. Why? I hesitated. No reason. Just bored, I guess. You? Bored? All right, come through. First round's on me. By 9:45, I was pulling on a jacket, something simple. Nothing planned. I wasn't trying to catch anyone. I just needed to see something. Or maybe confirm nothing. I didn't even text her back. Opal Room was one of those places with bouncers who looked like they were trained in a war zone and velvet ropes that made people feel important. I hadn't been there since it opened. Too loud. Too curated. Too many people pretending they weren't pretending. But tonight, something pulled me there like gravity. I walked past the line, gave a nod to the bouncer. Jake had clout, and stepped inside. It hit me all at once. The bass. The lights. The crowd. The smell of overpriced cologne, sweat, and that strange air freshener all clubs use to mask desperation. I moved through the bodies slowly, scanning. Not searching, just looking. And then I saw her. It was 10:04 p.m. Her dress was green. Tight. The one I told her made her look like springtime. Her hair was up the way she only wore it when she wanted to show off her shoulders. And she was laughing, really laughing. That head tilted back, teeth out kind of laugh. On his lap. His hand rested on her thigh like it belonged there. Like it always had. She didn't see me. Or maybe she did, and she was just good at pretending she didn't. But I saw everything. I saw how comfortable she looked. How familiar they seemed. I saw her reach for his drink like she'd done it 100 times before. I saw the way he whispered something in her ear and how she leaned in. Not like someone hearing a secret, but like someone hearing something she already knew. And still, I didn't move. The music pulsed, lights flashed across her face, and for a second, it didn't even feel like I was there. Like I was watching a scene in a movie I never asked to star in. Like the world had decided I needed to see this. A shadow moved next to me. The bouncer. You good, man? I nodded. He looked again, then back at me. You sure? I took a breath. It felt like the first one in minutes. Now I am. He didn't ask any more questions. I stayed there for maybe 5 more minutes. Just long enough to make sure I wasn't dreaming. That this wasn't some twisted version of paranoia playing out in real time. That the woman I kissed that morning, the one who said she loved me and smiled like she meant it, was sitting where she was, doing what she was doing. And then I walked out. Not fast. Not angry. Just quiet. The night air hit me hard. It was colder than I expected. I stood on the sidewalk for a moment, watching the line of people still waiting to get in, laughing, oblivious. I wondered how many of them were texting someone else, "Good night," at that exact moment. I pulled out my phone. Her message was still there. Good night. I stared at it again, this time with the knowledge that it was a lie. And that somehow, I had known all along. I didn't go home. I walked. Past storefronts with their gates down and neon signs still flickering. Past a couple arguing near a cab stand. Past a group of kids laughing too loudly on the sidewalk. I just kept moving, hoping the motion would shake something loose inside me. It didn't. At some point, I found myself on 5th and A, in front of this all-night diner we used to go to. The one with the cracked leather booths and the jukebox that never worked. We'd sit in the back and share pancakes at 2 a.m. after long nights out. She used to dip her fries in syrup. Said it was her guilty pleasure. I didn't go in. I just stood outside, watching the reflection of myself in the dark window. It looked like someone else. Someone older. Someone tired. The urge to call her hit me hard around midnight. Not to confront. Not even to yell. Just to ask why. Just to hear her voice lie one more time. So maybe I could hate her properly. But I didn't. I didn't call. Didn't text. Because some part of me already knew the answer. I wasn't him. I wasn't the guy she laughed on top of in clubs. I wasn't reckless. Or thrilling. Or forbidden. I was steady. Predictable. Home. And maybe that was the problem. Still, I kept hearing her laugh in my head. Not the sweet, quiet one I fell for. No. The one from tonight. Loud. Open. Careless. Like the version of her I knew never even existed. Like she'd just been waiting to shed the skin of who she was with me. That was the hardest part. Not the betrayal. Not the image of her on his lap. It was the realization that maybe I never really knew her. We spend years building people in our heads. We assign them goodness. Loyalty. We fill in the blanks with hope. But tonight stripped that all away. It was like the curtain got pulled back and there she was, not the woman I loved, but someone else entirely. Someone I wouldn't have even looked twice at if I met her for the first time tonight. I sat on a park bench sometime after 1. The streets were mostly empty. A few headlights passed. A dog barked in the distance. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel anything. Not sadness. Not anger. Just stillness. Like my heart had hit a wall it couldn't go through, and now it was just sitting there, waiting for instruction. I pulled out my phone again. That message still blinked from the screen. Good night, like a joke. Like a dare. And then, without thinking, I opened her location. We had it shared, something we did for safety, she said. We rarely used it. She probably forgot it was still on. There it was. Still at the Opal Room. At 1:17 a.m. I stared at the little blinking dot on the map like it owed me something. Like if I looked hard enough, I could zoom in and see her expression. Her lies. Her choices. And for a split second, I wanted to go back. Not to fight. Not to cause a scene. Just to stand in front of her and see if she'd flinch. But I didn't. Instead, I called Jake. He picked up groggy. You all right? Yeah, I said. Did you know? Silence. Then, what do you mean? I mean, did you know about her? A pause. Then a sigh. Not for sure. But, I heard things. My throat tightened. From who? Her cousin. A couple months ago. Said she'd been messing around with some guy from her gym. I didn't want to believe it. Figured it was just drama. And you didn't think to tell me? You were happy, man. What was I gonna do? Drop a grenade in your lap? I didn't respond. Listen, he added, I'm sorry. I really am. Yeah, I said. Me too. I hung up and stared at my screen. 2:04 a.m. She still hadn't messaged. No follow-up. No check-in. No, are you okay? Nothing. It hit me then, hard and cold. She hadn't even thought about me once since sending that text. That, good night, wasn't a cover. It wasn't a lie told out of guilt. It was protocol. Something she sent to keep me in the box she built for me. The safe one, the predictable one. So she could go live out whatever thrill she was chasing and still come home to peace. I was her peace. And she burned it for a dopamine hit. I remember leaning back on that bench and closing my eyes. Just listening. Not to the city, but to myself. To whatever was left inside me that still believed in her. It was quiet. Too quiet. By 3 a.m., I started walking again. Somewhere between 12th and 14th, I passed a couple holding hands. They were laughing about something. Not loud or obnoxious. Just present. Real. I envied them in a way I hadn't felt in years. And I realized something in that moment. Love doesn't die in explosions. It dies in silence. In the pauses between text replies. In the way her voice no longer lifts when she says your name. In how she forgets your coffee order. In how you stop being someone she chooses and start being someone she returns to. I had become her return. And that, more than anything, was unforgivable. The sun was just beginning to rise when I got back to my apartment. I stood in the kitchen, lights off, the city barely glowing through the window. The bottle of wine I'd bought for her sat on the counter, unopened. I stared at it for a while, remembering how proud I felt picking it out, how sure I was that she'd love it. That version of me, the one who believed in her, felt like a stranger now. I finally opened it. Not to toast, not to numb anything. just to mark the line. Before and after. Truth and lie. Around 7 a.m., my phone buzzed. It was her. Babe, I knocked out early last night. So tired. Hope you slept okay, Red Heart. I stared at it. Her fingers had typed that. Probably while sitting in his bed, or his car, or on her way back from whatever they did after the club. The red heart again. Like punctuation on a wound. I didn't reply. I didn't have to. Because part of me already knew what I was going to do. The next week, I played along. The same way she had. I answered her texts. I kissed her good morning. I asked about her day. I even listened to her talk about how slow her Friday night had been. She never flinched. Never skipped a beat. A seasoned actress. She had no idea I'd seen everything. But I wasn't gathering proof. I was gathering peace. I started putting things in motion. Quietly. My name came off the lease. My personal items were boxed while she was at work. Bank accounts separated. A new apartment leased under a month to month. Just enough time to disappear before she ever noticed the pattern shift. And on a Thursday evening, 1 week after she sent me that lie of a goodnight text, I told her I was going out to grab food. She kissed my cheek. I left and never came back. I didn't block her. I wanted her to wonder. The first call came around 9:30 p.m. I watched the screen light up. Didn't answer. She texted next. Hey, where are you? Then again, everything okay? By midnight, the texts had turned frantic. Voicemails. Missed calls. Then came the accusations. The confusion. The fear. She even called Jake. He didn't answer either. I wasn't trying to hurt her. That's not what this was. I just wanted her to sit in the silence for once. No explanations. No closure. Just the weight of her own choices echoing back in a room she thought I'd still be sitting in. 3 weeks passed. Then one night, I walked back into the Opal room. Not to see her. Just to see if it still held the same sting. It didn't. But fate's got a strange sense of timing. Because she was there. Not on his lap this time. Not laughing. Just sitting at the bar alone, glass in hand, staring into space like the music was underwater. I stood by the entrance for a moment. She didn't see me at first. But when she turned, when her eyes met mine across the crowd, I saw her flinch. Just slightly. Just enough. She stood up slowly, like she wasn't sure if it was really me. Her expression flickered between relief and panic. And then she walked toward me. I didn't move. She reached me, looked up, voice barely above the noise. Where did you go? I looked at her for a long second. Not at her lips. Not her hands. Just her eyes. And for the first time, I didn't feel pulled in. I didn't feel anything. I said, calmly, know where you'd follow. She blinked. I didn't mean for. I cut her off. I know what you meant. I saw you. That night. Her breath caught. At the club? I nodded. Her face drained. All the stories she must have rehearsed, the explanations she was ready to spin, they evaporated. There was nothing left to say. The silence between us was loud. Not angry. Just final. And then, the bouncer walked past us. The same one from that night. He recognized me. You good, man? He asked again. I smiled. Now I am. He gave a nod and kept walking. She looked at me, stunned. Like she didn't know who I was anymore. And maybe she didn't. Maybe that's what happens when someone finally sees the version of you that doesn't beg, doesn't chase, doesn't stay. She opened her mouth, but I was already turning away. I didn't look back. Because the thing about closure is, it's not always about the explanation. Sometimes, it's about the decision to stop needing one. And in that moment, surrounded by the bass and the lights and the echoes of everything we used to be, I made mine. I walked out of that club into the night she thought I'd never survive. And this time, I didn't leave a single part of myself behind.